Hello, I think I'm live, everyone. And I'd just like to say apologies for the slightly delay in starting this webinar. Unfortunately, we had, as usual, a few technical glitches, but hopefully they're all sorted out and everyone can hear me and can see my slides, which would be really great. So I'd like to just say good afternoon, good morning and good evening to all those joining our webinar, wherever you are in the world. My name is Bola Robiti, and I'm the Chief of Enterprise Research at CCS Insight. My colleague Maria Bell, the Senior Analyst for Workplace Transformation, was also going to be presenting with me, but unfortunately, owing to a last-minute emergency, she will not be able to join us. So you've just got me today. Hopefully that'll be okay. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to everyone, as I've already said, but let's think about what this webinar is going to be talking about. Suddenly much has changed over the course of 2024, and our research has unsurprisingly been underscored by businesses reacting to broader market challenges, such as geopolitical and macroeconomic pressures. On the more positive side, we have seen various technological advances such as generative AI take hold. And while we are thankfully several years past the disruption of the COVID-19 pandemic, interest in workplace and workforce dynamics has not abated. Both continue to be hot topics, especially as business operations shift with the infiltration of the latest workforce productivity solutions and feature sets. Understanding the resulting impact on business operations and the underscoring sentiments of employers and employees alike has never been more crucial for navigating the various evolving patterns to achieving the most effective workplace environment. So, as you'll see from the agenda, we've chosen to focus our webinar on today's hot topics: hybrid working and generative AI. I think everyone's talking about them. Our findings are taken from our latest employee workplace technology survey and includes some of the newest data that we have on current hybrid working patterns, deployment and adoption of generative AI. We explore employees' current experiences through the lens of workplace productivity and employee experience. We ask how technology and organizational culture support efficiency, collaboration, innovation, and workplace satisfaction, and the role generative AI assistant tools play in supporting this. Knowing what kind of makes employees happy or infuriated by their place of work and the operational support they receive is the difference between retaining them and enjoying forward to their working day and are consciously engaged in business growth and productivity. This is why I ask you to better understand logical influences such as the adoption and employment dynamics of generative AI in the workplace. At CCS Insight, we approach workplace transformation much more holistic, and our research spans a wide range of important topics that impact workplace dynamics. So while today's webinar focuses on hybrid working, employee experiences and future workforce technologies like generative AI, our employee workplace technology study captures insights on other key areas, including connectivity, devices and communications, and workplace technology providers. Collectively, they focus on examining device usage and connectivity challenges to identify opportunities for improving workplace efficiency and technology provisioning, assessing the effectiveness of collaboration tools in enhancing teamwork and productivity in hybrid and remote environments, and analyzing employee preferences for devices and operating systems and tools to inform technology investment and partnership strategies. In fact, the results from our latest employee technology and workplace transformation study highlighted several valuable insights and not paying attention to the key study findings could lead to frustrated employees being ready to leave and look for their next job when the opportunity arises. Equally, getting to grips with the changing workplace dynamics is vital to managing a business's well-being and ensuring that they can grow confidently. So the next stage is hybrid working, and there is a raging debate being played across various news channels and social media platforms, and even in the recent ploy by Spotify, plastered as a statement ad across a physical office building. On one side, we have a range of businesses driving support to maintain the flexibility of hybrid working policies, with tech giants such as Google and Microsoft making their continued support public. Spotify provocatively states that its employees are not children, in demonstrating its continued support for remote working. What has been interesting to see, read, and hear is the very loud and visible pushback from business leaders who want to see their workforce return to the office building full-time, irrespective of any benefits that a flexible hybrid working policy has been shown to offer. Take a look at the mix of the headlines driving the full-time return to the office buildings on this slide. Bearing in mind, this is just a small fraction of the content driving this argument. I'm struck not only by the numbers of the organizations that were strong proponents of the hybrid working philosophy, but also by how there seems to be some level of, sort of back turning on the value that digital technologies offer in supporting and driving the productivity of the anytime, anywhere, and on any device mantra. The push seems somewhat counterintuitive to that philosophy, especially for the job functions that do not especially require in-person interactions. I know that many back to the office full-time promoters suggest that innovation is in peril with the lack of in-person, sort of interaction and collaboration. Although I have to say, I find it a little hard to believe that innovation wasn't happening while we were all required to work remotely during the pandemic. I'm not arguing against the value of in-person interaction and collaboration. Still, I wonder if the blanket return to the office policy, regardless of role and job function, is not masking other considerations. Makes me question if 2022 was the great resignation, could 2025 be the great letting go? Importantly, the data from our study offers a more nuanced perspective, which I will cover in the following slides. However, there is plenty of empirical evidence that a business's workplace philosophy, whether that is enhanced working from home or enhanced working from the office, is as much a factor in employees' decision-making as other drivers, such as salary or healthcare perks. Crucially, traffic is not in one direction. Some people want more time in the office, others less. So let's look at a dichotomy exists at the heart of hybrid working dynamics exposed in our 2024 study findings. So when we look at the data of our survey in 2023, we found that 56% of employees were in the office full-time, around 37% retaining a level of flexibility through hybrid working, and 7% working fully remotely. In 2024, only 33% of employee respondents are working full-time in the office, with 63% enjoying the hybrid working model. If we look deep dive into those numbers, we can actually reveal that 47% of employees still spend more than half their working time in the office, indicating that hybrid models lean towards an in-office presence. So, despite the widespread adoption of hybrid work, tensions between employee flexibility and company policies continue. The push to return to the office particularly in traditional sectors like financial services, highlights the ongoing challenge of striking the right balance. So, we certainly can't take away the fact that hybrid working is popular. However, while I might question some business leaders' lack of support for hybrid working policies, we must acknowledge the survey results, which tell us that employees like, what employees like about working in the office. From this slide, we can see that 48% of employee respondents found the ability to collaborate and learn from others a distinct advantage of working in a corporate office, with an equal percentage valuing the level of social interaction and sense of community. In fact, 43% found in-person meetings with managers a big draw of working in the office. All three sentiments topped the 2024 list of advantages selected for working in the office, centering on interpersonal engagement, which largely mirrors our findings from 2023. Such findings highlight the value employees place on face-to-face interaction for building relationships and solving problems. Solving problems, certainly in the real time, which kind of suggests that while remote working technologies are helpful, they fall short in replicating the rich in-person communication. Other factors cited by our respondents for working in the office include access to better IT equipment and reliable internet access, highlighting remote workers' technology limitations and reinforcing the need for companies to provide stronger IT for home setups. Notably, the office also offers clearer work-life balances and better workstation setups, which are critical for maintaining focus and balance. So areas where remote work often blurs the line. So despite the dichotomy of wanting flexibility for the place of work, employees deal with a range of hybrid work challenges. We have already highlighted the advantages of working in the office, so it stands to reason that building working relationships and access to company resources are the top challenges of hybrid work. The latter underscores the need for secure access to data and tools, reinforcing the importance of cloud infrastructure and remote solutions. However, challenges are evenly spread, suggesting employees face various problems rather than one main concern. Interestingly, 80% of the study respondents felt that their employers were well equipped for hybrid work, indicating that organizations have, for the most part, implemented the necessary infrastructure. However, this technical readiness does not address the broader human-centric challenges that persist, and organizations will still have to do a lot of work to optimize hybrid working practices. As hybrid work solidifies as a permanent working model, the need for productive home environments has become increasingly important. The proportion of respondents working from home has remained reliably stable since our 2023 survey at 85%, with just 15% relying on communal or temporary spaces like drop-in hubs or public areas. Notably, the prevalence of home working environments has surged, with a proportion of employees with dedicated home offices or home office spaces jumping from 49% in 2023 to 67% in 2024. This reflects kind of like employees' growing confidence in the long-term viability of hybrid work and underscores the need for organizations to support productive home environments with enhanced technology solutions, including reliable connectivity, security, and collaboration tools tailored for the home office. Oops. Oh, we go backwards, go forwards. Oh, so this brings us on to generative AI. Well, AI is everywhere, and for good reason. The flood of headlines, as we see on this slide, isn't just hype. It signals a major shift in how businesses approach productivity, decision making, and competition. AI is no longer a future concept, it's actively reshaping work. Companies are moving from experimentation to structured adoption, but they do face challenges in integrating AI effectively. This raises key questions. What's real? What's speculative? And how can organizations, make AI a sustainable, strategic part of workplace transformation? One thing is clear. AI, and generative AI in particular, is already changing the way we work, and businesses must be ready. Generative AI, powered by large and small language models, is driving this shift. It streamlines workflows, automates tasks, and enhances engagement, allowing businesses to focus on higher value work, from payroll and policy management to coding and data analysis. Generative AI is unlocking efficiencies across industries. We're also entering the the era, or I like to call it, the dawn of the agentic AI, age, where models go beyond generating outputs to making autonomous decisions and executing tasks. Breakthroughs like DeepSeek, which has been top of the news this week, and the rapid scaling of AI models are accelerating adoption. But with this evolution comes challenges. Questions around skills, ethics, regulation, responsible AI, and automation's broader impact remain crucial as AI, and generative AI in particular, continues to transform work. Our survey shows strong adoption of generative AI, with many companies collectively, and actively using it on running pilot projects. However, access remains limited. Some organizations offer it to all employees, while others restrict it to specific roles, potentially limiting its full impact. A significant number of employees cite restricted access as a top frustration, revealing a gap between demand and company policies. Expanding access could help bridge this disconnect and drive broader adoption, as well as broader integration. Companies are still taking a cautious approach, balancing security, compliance, and operational concerns. Some allow employees to bring their own AI tools or their own generative AI solutions, while others prohibit usage entirely. Industry and company size also influences AI adoption, with certain sectors embracing widespread use, while others remain more reserved. So we've already talked about the challenges, and certainly limited access to generative AI tools has become a major workplace frustration, ranking as a top concern for employees. As AI becomes essential for productivity, innovation, and workflow, as well as modernization, restricted access creates bottlenecks and limits its full potential. Password overload remains a persistent annoyance, as we see on this graph, but frustration with learning new tools and integration challenges highlight the need for businesses, and for the need for seamless onboarding and compatibility. Interestingly, connectivity concerns have faded, likely due to improved networks or shifting priorities towards AI adoption. Expanding AI access could be a game changer, boosting efficiency, engagement, and overall workplace satisfaction. Generative AI is becoming a workplace staple. We've already established that with a lot of the data that I've been talking about so far, and certainly with most employees using it in some capacity, and many relying on it daily to streamline their workflows. However, adoption varies. Some engage occasionally, while others remain hesitant due to company restrictions and data privacy or security concerns. Research, retail, and tech sectors lead in AI adoption, with senior managers also showing strong engagement. While AI is widely embraced, some employees, particularly remote workers, show a little bit less interest, reflecting different work habits and priorities. The rise of AI assistants highlights a key tension: boosting efficiency while maintaining critical thinking and foundational skills. Automation frees employers for higher work value, but over-reliance on AI could erode technical intuition. Balancing convenience with the ability to innovate will be crucial as AI becomes embedded in daily operations. Generative AI is transforming the workplace, as we've already said, and it's boosting speed, productivity, and employee engagement. It streamlines work routine tasks, allowing employees to focus on high-value strategic work, making workplaces more agile and efficient. However, beyond efficiency, AI is seen to be enhancing job satisfaction for many of the users, as well as work quality by automating kind of repetitive, tasks, as well as supporting a lot of creativity and collaboration, right? It does empower employees with greater autonomy and fosters innovation within teams. We're seeing that, generative AI in particular also expands knowledge access, and it is enabling quicker decision-making and more complex problem solving. Training further amplifies these benefits, ensuring employees can maximize AI's potential. But as AI reshapes roles, organizations must consider its broader impact. Does it reduce stress or create new pressures? Does it expand responsibilities or add unnecessary complexity? These deeper questions need a lot more attention and discussion in the workplace, and as the workplace evolves alongside AI, so must answers be, found for these questions. One thing our findings of our study does actually highlight, and that is, that whilst, there is, the AI and generative AI in particular is, offering transformative power, in shaping the workforce, the future workforce, access to advanced tools, like generative AI assistance tools is crucial. But more crucial than that is training. And training is key to unlocking, these tools' full potential. Employees who receive AI training report greater productivity, creativity, and autonomy, allowing them to work more independently and make informed decisions. Even in areas like work quality, trained employees see notable benefits. For organizations, investing in training isn't just an advantage, it's actually essential. I know companies often like to sort of cut the training budget, but if we're thinking about how we go ahead with productivity, improved output and the quality, and ensuring that there is a level of trust, then it's actually becoming really vital and crucial that equipping employees with the right skills will drive, sort of success, efficiency, and job satisfaction, which we know that can come from using these tools. So, as workplaces become more digitally connected, security and privacy are top concerns for employees handling vast amounts of sensitive data. And we've seen this. I mean, every kind of study that we have conducted at CCS Insight, security, data privacy, and also sovereignty becomes high, high on the list in terms of requirements, in terms of challenges, and what employees are looking for. They expect clear policies, strong access controls, and compliance with recognized protection standards. confidence in AI security measures is essential, and especially critical as the kind of like adoption of generative AI grows. Data privacy is also shaping job decisions, with more employees considering a key factor when choosing an employer. Security concerns remain a major barrier to AI adoption and generative AI, reinforcing the need for transparency and trust in workplace technology. While the EU's AI Act is a landmark regulation, perspectives on AI governance vary. And what we found ultimately is that decision makers in the various regions, whether that be the UK, the US, or in Europe, see their own regions as leading AI regulations, which kind of highlights a fragmented global approach to AI policy. And we've certainly seen that in a lot of the conversations between governments and nation states. But what is really interesting, and it's a bit of a dichotomy we see in both the trust and checks on, AI output. What's interesting is people care about security. We've already established that, and model reliability as well. Yet many don't consistently check AI generated outputs. While data security and accuracy are top concerns, actual verification is often inconsistent. Despite awareness of AI risks like errors and hallucination, many users only verify outputs occasionally, and some rarely or even never check them. This gap between concern and action suggests a need for better training and stronger review protocols. Yeah, training again, that's one of the other things that I certainly couldn't get, couldn't impress upon more for our listeners to this webinar. Because unchecked inaccuracies can impact decision making and customer service and internal communications, which can lead to financial or reputational risks. Organizations must bridge this gap by reinforcing verification habits and implementing clear policies to ensure AI outputs are consistently and continuously reviewed. I know that often as things mature and as things go on, we tend to forget some of these great, audit policies. And I think that's really important that companies and employees take this up. So ultimately, the future workforce will be built on generative AI skills and access to advanced tools. Employees are increasingly see AI proficiency as essential for career growth, and many consider access to cutting-edge technology a key factor when choosing an employer. Just as digital skills become a must-have in the past, AI and generative AI fluency is now a critical workplace requirement. So those who master AI tools will carry these skills from job to job, much like a personal toolkit or super prompts that enhance productivity and adaptability. So we're seeing the birth and the increasing of the requirements for prompt engineering and prompt engineer roles are growing out in the marketplace. So for employers, providing AI training and access to modern tools isn't just an advantage, it's a necessity. Companies that invest in these areas will attract top talent, foster innovation, and stay competitive in an AI-driven job market. So, as we come to the end of this webinar, which I hope has imparted lots of wonderful insights, I wanted to quickly do a little bit of a plug and share CCS Insights' latest Enterprise Insights series report, Empowering Roles with Generative AI Assistant Tools. The report explores how AI is transforming workplaces, driving productivity, and revealing, unexpected challenges in adoption. It highlights key trends, including the rise of shadow AI use. You heard it here first. Shadow AI use, not too dissimilar to shadow IT, where employees adopt AI tools under the radar, signaling unmet needs. It also showcases AI's impact on productivity, reducing routine tasks and allowing teams to focus on more strategic work. Crucially, it exposes notable concerns such as how the over-reliance on AI may weaken essential skills. Our report provides valuable insights to help organizations build trust, refine governance, and address behavioral challenges while equipping teams to use AI effectively and responsibly. It also identifies key market trends, providing insights and strategic priorities for generative AI adoption. So if anyone's interested in getting their hands on this, what I would say, and of course I would say, exciting report, please do get in touch if you're interested about the report's content. So I'm delighted to share just a few of, or I have been delighted to share just a few of the high-level insights from our annual Employee Workplace Technology Survey today on this webinar. And I hope you've all found it really insightful. However, these findings that I've shared today are just a snippet and a small glimpse of what is available in the full study. As I said earlier in the presentation, the survey's main purpose is to understand employees' use of technology in the workplace. It examines attitudes towards changing ways of working and establishes any of the new emerging workplace technologies and major technology brands to provide insights into employee experiences, preferences, and challenges. Over 600 employee respondents took part from the US, the UK, France, Germany, Spain, Sweden, and the Netherlands. And they covered various roles and industries. So for more information on how to access the full data and insights, please, contact our sort of account management team at sales@ccsinsight.com or simply visit our website. So before I go, I want to kind of, and before we get into the Q&A as well, so you get a chance to ask some questions, I'd like to highlight a couple of the upcoming events. First of all, the CCS Insight analyst teams are going to be attending MWC next, I think, in Barcelona at the start of March. So look out for us. And our next webinar will be an expectations for MWC 2025 on February 13th. So please do sign up for what I know will offer exciting insights into what we expect to see at MWC. So I think the next one is questions. So we've got some, we're going to have some Q&A, and I think I've got my lovely producer in the background who's going to pull forward some questions. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to highlight some of those questions. And then, I think I've got a question. Let me just quickly. So first question is, how far do you think employees will go when it comes to getting people to return to the office? And are we going to see a lot of people dismissed for refusing to comply? Oh, I think maybe that might have come through in some of my comments earlier. And I do feel that it is something that I do think that there is some sort of, maybe some people might say nefarious reasons why people are saying come back to the work office. I think in reality is this. I think there are organizations who understand that if, people, can work from home and can work, remotely. But I think our data shows that actually a lot of people, they still want to a lot of employees still want to come into the office. They want to come in, sort of, 3 days. They want the flexibility of being able to come into the office and also working from remotely, where they can either have, quiet time to kind of to write reports or, have the silence that they need. But at the same time, they value the coming into the office when they need to kind of speak to their, sort of colleagues, have that interpersonal, interaction, but also have meetings, right? Our data has seen this. So I think the flexibility is something that many organizations and many employees really, really enjoy. And I kind of actually like to say that, I do believe in Spotify's point, which is, our employees are not children. And I think it kind of identifies a little bit that, maybe working from home, people have this, I was watching an article, a news reel only last night saying that people think that people aren't working. So all these negative content, sort of connotations that they're just taking their time out and, maybe watching a bit of daytime TV. As anyone who's watched daytime TV will know, that is definitely not it's not an attractive trait, and certainly wouldn't make me want to sort of work from home. But I think there is a feel that some organizations are using it as a means for maybe kind of natural attrition. Maybe that's what as people who don't want to work in the office and want that more flexibility, want to sort of look for other roles. But I think it's very short-sighted, because I think you want a diversity both in terms of sort of thoughts and to engage and bring on as many different people. So I think that flexibility actually really is quite important. Got another question, which is with 42% of employees worried about data security and privacy when using Gen AI at work. Thank you very much for picking up that. How can employers safeguard the use of these tools while still maximizing their benefits? And I think that's a really good point, because, as we say, security, and privacy and data privacy and sovereignty are really, really important. And I think that's really, this is one of the things that ensuring that that the sort of solutions that they use feed off existing sort of security kind of frameworks and meshes that companies have, identity access, so that they ensure that people who are asking questions have the right, are authorized to get the information that they're asking for. And I think the other side, some companies kind of like sort of block access to their tools to going out to maybe the internet and just looking at the data within the organization, which is, I think, is actually quite, I think is really important to ensure minimizing sort of hallucination. Some of the things are down to the sort of like dedicated models that might work on, sort of particular company data. So that's, I think that's really important. So I think there's going to be lots of things, both working in terms of existing security frameworks and identity access, sort of solutions. That's really important. And the other thing is looking at, what kind of, sort of solutions, how working through the processes and actually testing them. In fact, actually only a few days ago, I was at a financial tech summit, Financial Tech Leaders Summit on cyber. And in fact, a lot of what I was hearing is actually looking at sort of additional tools to really kind of like shore up that security. So I think that is something that, working in tandem with the CISO and the security teams, as well as understanding, what is it that people are using and the way they're using, and trying to figure out those processes and looking at how they can kind of like, sort of, anticipate where, sort of vulnerabilities might occur. Right, I think we're coming up to the end of our time, but I've got a couple of other questions, and I think we've got lots of questions, which is great. I love this. I think there's one. I'm going to take a couple more. So, do you think there'll be a backlash against generative AI as users and consumers start to worry about whether they can really trust it and find it increasingly difficult to tell whether content is real or not? Yes, I think that is the simple answer is absolutely. There will be a backlash, but I think what people will be looking for And in fact, that goes back to one of the slides I showed, which was, the reality is that, sometimes people are concerned about the models that they're using, but then don't check the output. So I think there's a little bit of accountability and responsibility on everyone's part on this, to kind of like, be accountable for the output, that the quality of the output that's being used. I think that people will start to think about the tools and the products, the models that are really secure, and really helping those, as well as, where the data is coming from, how much is this looking at internal data sources, and I think that will be something. So that's certainly from a business perspective. I think from consumers' point of view, I think all of this is going to be a learned experience. Like anything, when things go wrong or they don't like the answers, consumers will kind of like basically walk with their feet. So if they feel that these things are not quite, that there is opening up to kind of security breaches or even possible data breaches, then I think that is the kind of thing that consumers will then just drop those models or even drop those tools. So I think there is a little bit of self accountability, but it does require that as they think about the models that they're using, and the quality of the output. I think there's a little bit of self-reviewing them, will happen, and they will drop those tools that don't pass the muster. So I've got let me have a quick look. Oh, okay, one more question. I think I'm going to take another couple of questions, and then I'm going to sort of say that we'll be writing undoubtedly a blog on this, so I'll say look out for our blogs. But also, a lot of our answers are in the report that we're sort of published. It's actually published along with the survey data. So please do come back to us, and we can. But I've got this last question that I'm actually going to ask. Are there concrete or near concrete stats on security issues created by shadow AI? This seems valuable in order to prioritize managed AI, as the result is that the availability of AI in the world, it will get used to solve problems. Yes. Oh, actually, that's a great question. And I would say that whilst at this moment we probably don't have the stats, to be honest with you, I can only say kind of like anecdotal evidence is that people are using AI solutions because they find that they're using their own ones. Some companies, and I think this goes back to the challenge that the frustration that employees might feel with some of the kind of like constrained environments. But that's understandable because obviously the data that that a company owns is very valuable. The insight that it delivers is obviously really important. But I think this needs to be kind of like worked out, in terms of identifying a good balance, and how we go about bringing in tools. I think it's we've seen companies who have said, well, with some roles and some departments, they get full access where others do not. It's not broadly, sort of distributed. But I think companies need to really think about and maybe have that honest conversation with their workforce or with teams and individuals as to what the purpose is that they're looking to using these tools. Because if it's in just their general everyday job, there are some tools which are, I mean, if you go out onto the, a lot of the kind of the web browsers now have AI components in them. But it's also about how you bring it into everyday work and the checks and balances that you put into there. So I think what it really requires is an honest, conversation between the kind of leadership and the workforce, and understanding why and where kind of these tools are really important to use, or where where they're not and why they aren't, and then having that realization. But the other thing I would say that the challenge with shadow AI, the reason it's shadow is that not only because they want to get the use of these tools and they find them valuable, but I also sometimes people feel that they don't want to tell anyone that they're using them because of the kind of negative connotations that apply. Maybe people might think that they don't think that people might think that they're not doing, as good a job, or that they will, that the work that they submit, they'll be seen as not doing, it's not their own, when in fact it is. All they've done is use the tools to sort of help, either improve the kind of like the content and the way it's presented. So I think that's the other thing, because I think that's one, and we see that a lot in education, is like, are you plagiarizing? Well, there's a difference between plagiarizing and using a tool to kind of help improve the writing quality. So yes, it's a good question, and I think over time we're going to see more of that, but I think to minimize it, it means an honest conversation between the leadership of an organization and its workforce. So I think that is it, and I want to reiterate again the two the two next events. The first one is a webinar that's going to be on the 13th of February, expectations for MWC 2025, and I really implore everyone to sign up and register, because that's going to be a really cool, sort of insight from some wonderful many of my wonderful colleagues who are going to say what they're expecting to see. And then we will be at MWC Barcelona 2025. So meet us there, get in contact if you want to get meetings or have meetings with us, as I'm sure our diaries will be filling up very fast, but we'd love to see you all there. So I think that is me finished. I'd like to thank everybody and look forward to the next webinar. Thank you very much.